So hello, everybody. Welcome to Xencelabs presentation. We've got a lot to go over today. I think we have about an hour. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes to go over the presentation. So we have an unveiling for you today. So I am Hannah Imperial Cannon. I am Director of Business Development for Xencelabs for Sales and Marketing in North America. The agenda today, we're going to go through 5 minutes of me showing and telling you a little bit about Xencelabs, our company background. Michael Thompson is here, Head of Global Product, and he's going to go through a product overview, talk about the benefits and features. We have Ian Sayers here, going to give you a live product demonstration for about 20 or so minutes. And then in the end, like Denise Williams said, we are going to do a little Q&A for you. So please put your comments in the chat. So how do you pronounce our name? It's called Xencelabs. The word mark is derived from two different ideas. Sense being and referring to the human senses, basically the creative inspiration, what inspires you. And labs is a direct reference to laboratories. So it's really a place for experimentation, progressive thinking, really what drives innovation. So Xencelabs, we started right off the bat with a global presence. We were founded in 2019 by a group of professionals, some that you see here, some that are on the call. We have 30 plus years experience spanning all different types of disciplines in media and entertainment, higher education, visual effects, so on. Our real goal here, though, is to build community, have kind of a collaborative space with different industry leaders. We aim to create tools that are intuitive, really a natural expression of your creative process, really to help you create what you dream. So, like I said, we started in 2019. We put this concept of Xencelabs together. We really wanted to give artists a choice of tools on the market. We knew there weren't really a lot of options at the time. So we started speaking to many creatives, getting valuable information from them. We started working on a roadmap, the idea of what could we create? And then based on all this information, we started testing some devices and sending out these products for testing and gaining feedback. And then we listened. So what we learned was artists really want the fundamentals, right? They want a great drawing experience. They want productivity and features. They need ergonomics and comfort with lots of hours working on different devices. And it needs to be adaptable and customizable to the user. And then all of that, we need quality and good value. So then from 2019 to 2021, we developed these products, and then we launched in February 2021 the Xencelabs Pen Tablet Medium and Bundle, which include the quick keys. And then after that, the same year, we launched the Pen Tablet smaller device, more compact, portable. And then last year, February 2022, we announced the Pen Tablet Medium Bundle Special Edition. Really a different aesthetic, different colorway, the Nebula White. So after the year, we got lots of valuable feedback. You'll see a lot of positive reviews on social media and YouTube. And what you see here, Forbes and Creative Blog, we actually won some amazing awards for Best Drawing Tablet on the market, and we're very proud of this. So let's not forget our important alliance partnerships. We spend a lot of time working with these software developers. We're really collaborating ideas and making sure that we're working with the right tools and applications that our clients are using every day to continue to work closely and collaborate. Very important part of our ecosystem. And with that said, let me introduce Michael Thompson.
That would be me. That would be me. All right. So I am just jazzed to be talking about the Xencelabs Pen Display 24. It's been a while in the making, and it's really been a fun project. And it's like birthing a baby, you know? So today is the first time I can really talk about the fact we're having this baby, and it's just very exciting for me to be able to do that. Before we get into the product itself, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the design philosophy, because really that is what drives all of our products. So from the pen tablets that Hannah just mentioned, to the pen display that we're doing today, and to other products that we have on the roadmap for in the future. And one of the most important of those is what we call kind of a co-design with professional artists. So what that really means is we try to get as many artists as makes sense to have some kind of experience with the product during the development phase. So the Pen Display 24, I would say over the last year and a half, we've probably had close to 100 different artists have had their hands on this thing. And they've given us a lot of input as to, well, I like this, I don't like this, or we have a function where you can put the product at the edge of the desk, and they're like, well, this is great and it seems stable, but we need to make sure it's not going to fall off the desk. So could you put a tether on here? So we did that. We added a whole bunch of different things based on the input that we got from these folks. That's really important to us. The other thing is you'll see innovations that are, sometimes they're small and sometimes they're big. And they really come out of, when an artist using the product for, 10 hours, 11 hours a day, and these are professional artists who we target with Xencelabs. And when they're using it that length of time, it's little things that can make a difference in seconds or just in comfort. For example, a good one is there's no seams on our product at all on the surface. So when you're drawing, your hand doesn't encounter something that can create a little bump or a little feeling as you're drawing. And that kind of, those are little details that unless you're familiar with this market or you're an artist yourself, you may not notice. So we really try to pay attention to the details. The other thing that's really important is we want the product to, as much as it can, to adapt to what the artist's preferences are. We don't want the artist to have to adapt to our product. Or, I mean, at times that's inevitable and you can't completely do that, but at least we give it a good try to make it that way. So for example, that's one of the reasons you'll see we have two pens. And that is because some artists have big hands and some artists have small hands. So we wanted to give a choice. And we do that wherever we get to where we think there's going to be the maximum benefit. Now, we can't do that for every little detail, but we can do it for at least what we think is the majority of artists. It has to be ergonomic. Again, if you're doing it 10 to 11 hours a day drawing, I know so many artists have gotten, neck problems or shoulder problems or wrist problems because of bad ergonomics. So we pay attention to that. So you can, for example, change the tilt angle during the day to ease on the muscles that you're using. Another thing we do that's really important in all of that, and this goes for all the products that we are working on for the future and in the past, and we call it minimalist but complete. So we want to make sure that when the artist opens the box, everything they need is in there. They're not going to have to go out and buy something because we didn't include it for whatever reasons. So where possible, we put everything in the box that most artists are going to need. The driver is another integral component. We look at that as something that's really essential to the product, not just in making it work, but in making it work better. So we will add functionality to the driver. We've already done that with the pen tablet. So people who bought the pen tablet at the beginning and who have a pen tablet now actually have more functionality than they did when they first bought it. And we continue to do that. Now, obviously it's a balance, right? Because you don't want to put in so many things that it just becomes a big mess. So we're not going to put in every little thing, but we'll put in where we think there's the maximum benefit to the most people. And we've already been doing that. We add functionality and we'll continue to do that. The quality of the product is really high. We want artists to feel proud about owning these products. So you'll see things like metal back housings and stuff like that really add to the quality of the product. And then the last one is we know we can't offer everything for the product ourselves, and we don't want to. So we want to enable artists and third parties to have accessories. So our products have got lots of attachment points, for example. We'll make available the dimensions of these things so that third parties or artists themselves can add to it. One of our designers, he wanted to create a holder for his iPhone, and he could put a MagSafe thing on it and plug it in because we have a USB port on the top. So stuff like that, we want to encourage that. All right, so this is the Pen Display 24. It's a really nice looking product. It's very minimalist in its appearance, but it's got a lot of functionality, and we'll get into that. Hannah already talked about some of the main areas that we look at, and for this one, you know, you'll see a fantastic drawing experience. That's one of the most important things. The quality of the display, the productivity, the ergonomics, the value, we push on all those vectors when we're designing a product. We keep those very strongly in mind. So we'll go through each one of these in detail. So the drawing experience, obviously it's a professional drawing tool. So it has to be good in the drawing experience. And what you'll see on this product is it's edge to edge etched glass. And so there's no bumps, no things to get in the way. And it provides just the right amount of friction. So we tested lots of different etching to make sure the feel was right, because you want it to be, you know, enough friction, but not too much friction. You also want the hand to be able to glide smoothly across the screen, because when you're doing a stroke, you don't want some kind of, you know, juddery thing like you might get on, for example, a really glossy screen. So there's this balance that you want to get between the feel of the nib on the surface of the glass and the hand just being able to smoothly glide across the screen. And we think we've got a pretty good balance there. And as I said, we've had a lot of artists who've tried this out and given us feedback on that, so we can tweak it. The glass is edge to edge. Another thing that's really important is the pressure curve, right? So what we did was we gave a special driver to a number of artists and said, hey, would you use this for a while? And we could collect the pressure data. And so then we can tune the pressure curves to where most artists spend their time, right? Because the quality, the pressure range that's available on this goes from 3 grams all the way up to 500 grams. But most artists don't use that entire range. So they're somewhere more toward the middle bottom end kind of area. And we wanted to see what that actually looked like for where most artists spent their time. So then we could tune that pressure curve to make it very responsive in those areas. Now, of course, there's no such thing as an average artist, right? Every artist has different preferences, so you can adjust those curves to your particular preferences. And because it can go as light as 3 grams, that means that people who are very light-handed can draw the finest of lines. But if you're heavy-handed, where you're immediately going to 50 grams when you start drawing, then a 3 gram initial activation force is not so good for you. So it's very easy to change where that initial activation force begins, so that even as a heavy-handed artist, you still get that control at the low end of the pressure curve. I mentioned we have two pens in there. There's an ergonomic reason, which was the thin pen and the 3-button pen. So one's thinner and one's thicker. One's more like a pencil. But in addition, we have different number of buttons. So we have 3 buttons on one of the products plus an eraser, and we have 2 buttons on the other. So for artists who, maybe they're doing 3D work, or they just happen to like more buttons on a pen, they've got a choice. So that's, again, we're giving choice. And then we have 2 types of nib, a standard nib, and then one that's a felt nib, which has even a bit more friction. So you've got, the artist has some control over the amount of friction they get as well. The display itself, I'm just really happy with that. And this is probably one of the initial, when you show this product to a bunch of artists, one of the first things they notice, even before they've started drawing on it, is the lack of glare. So if you know professional artists, many of them work in the dark. The lights are off and they've got it tuned and they're down there in a darker environment. And a lot of that is because they don't want glare from the ceiling lights. I've been in a few studios before which weren't dark, and the artists have put out like these big golf umbrellas and big, like kind of cardboard. They constructed these cardboard hoods because the glare that comes off the ceiling lights is awful, or from a window or something like that. So our glare reduction capability is really good. We're very, very pleased with that. And we've been able to do it so you don't get a sparkling effect either. There's this kind of interference pattern that can happen between the pixels and the LCD and the anti-glare techniques. And some you'll see some products that have a sparkling effect, but ours doesn't have that. So that means it's less tiring on the eyes. So that's one of the beauty of this product, is you can use it for a long period of time and it doesn't tire your eyes. It's a 4K 3840 by 2160. Technically it's the Ultra HD. 1.07 billion colors. It's Pantone, skin tone validated. It's optically bonded. Optical bonding is an interesting thing. It gives you actually better contrast, and it gives you a better looking screen, but it also allows you to have less parallax if you're familiar with parallax. So we talk about that more in Q&A if that's of interest to people. And then we cover a variety of standard color spaces as well, which are pre-calibrated in the factory. Productivity, of course, is critical, because professional artists, they're on a deadline usually. They're trying to get some work done either for a client or for a movie or whatever they may happen to be working on. So we pay a lot of attention to productivity. Quick keys or shortcut keys is what they enable, is something that's a very interesting topic, because when we started talking to customers about this a while back, what you find is there's a third of artists love shortcut keys on a device like this, and they want as many shortcut keys as they can get. You have the other end of the extreme who hate shortcut keys. They don't want any. They just like to use the keyboard. That's all they use. They don't need some, remote control-y thing or anything like that. And then there's another third who are kind of in the middle, and they're like, well, I like the idea of this, but I can never remember what I programmed. It's too complicated to program, or something like this. So that's why we came up with the quick keys. And the quick keys you can see in the picture there is on the left-hand side, and it can attach anywhere on the side of the display. And that gives you up to 40 shortcuts per application. So a different set of shortcuts for each application. And then that's beautiful, because for those who don't like shortcut keys on a device like that, they can just put it in the drawer and never turn it on. For those who like a lot, that's 40 per application. That's a lot of shortcut keys. And because it's hard to remember what they are, we've got a display on there, so you can actually name them as you want, and you can see them as you want. And for those who would like the idea, now there's a display, so they can actually use it and be able to be successful in it with quite quickly. It's got a physical dial, so it gives you a lot more control when you have a physical dial, and it automatically switches between applications when you move. And you can share your settings with other people, which is great in a college or school type environment. We talked about the pens. We have this other thing which is great from a productivity point of view, and that is what we call virtual tablet mode. And that allows you to control multiple devices from the Pen Display 24. And I won't go into that in too much detail, because Ian's going to show you that a little bit later. But it's a really cool aspect of the product. And then at the top, you'll see 3 circular buttons, which are device control buttons. So that gives you quick access to settings, gives you access to the virtual tablet mode. And you can also wake it up by using the pen if it falls asleep. Minor thing, but saves you a few seconds here and there. That's the quick keys. You'll see this in a little more when Ian does his part showing you the product, but you can see the display there. It's very clear, and you can rotate it in, if you prefer it vertically, you can do it vertically to the side or whatever you want. We talked about the driver a little bit. The driver is very intuitive. It's very attractive. It's a very modern looking design, and it's regularly updated. The display controls are built into the driver, and it's a fully functional driver for Linux, which is unusual in this particular field. The driver in Linux is pretty much the same as it is in Windows and Mac. So that's nice for Linux people who usually have to put up with a very reduced feature set. Very ergonomic. We include a stand that comes with it, so you don't have to go out and buy a stand. And it's one hand adjustable, and you can tilt between 16 and 72 degrees. The mount that's on there is VESA, so if you want to use an arm, you can. And because the product's lightweight, it doesn't really, you don't have to have a really heavy duty arm. You can make do with a more cost-effective arm. One of the things that's maybe a slightly controversial thing where we have to make a decision is in the thin bezel. So you'll see we do have a bezel, It's a lot thinner than some of the older pen displays on the market that you might have seen, but we didn't get rid of the bezel entirely. And I know there's some products out there who are doing that. And we didn't do that for a reason, because many artists, particularly those who draw from the elbow, they have kind of a follow through when they draw. And having somewhat of a bezel allows them to continue the stroke off the screen. Now, if there's no bezel at all, the hand kind of drops, so that it actually creates more tension on the arm, because they've got to use their muscles to keep that stroke straight even when there's nothing to rest it on. It's also very helpful for if you have some menus that are close to the edge of the screen. Having a bit of a bezel means you can rest your hand as you're selecting menus. So I know there are some artists who would prefer no bezel, but we believe for the majority of artists that we've talked to, a little bit of a bezel is actually value. We talked about the different pen sizes for ergonomics. The quick keys can be placed anywhere along the four edges of the product. You'll see that Ian, he likes to put his on the bottom, and you'll see that in a minute. It can be wired or wireless. Another thing that falls into the ergonomic area is it's completely silent. The product has no fans, so it's just quiet. And at first I didn't know how big of a thing that was, but when we were talking to some of the artists, it really is important. They really noticed this. So that was something we were able to do and support that need. Pen slots, there's 8 of those, 2 on each side, so you can store your pens on the product itself. And then we talked about this whole idea of accessories and third parties. The multi-axis stand is something that's going to come in the future, probably somewhere around the summer, late summer, and that will add full rotation, including portrait use. It'll have multiple tilt angles, also single hand operation. As you can see in the picture here, you can put the keyboard right under the display, which makes it a little bit more ergonomic. And we have this off the desk mode. I'm not going to get too much into that at the moment, because it's really cool, but you can really pull the product right to the edge and rotate it, and you can be right on top of it. It's just a wonderful mode. And it's also very lightweight. So it's got a carrying handle, so it's easy to pick up the whole device and move it around. I wouldn't take it on the subway probably, but you can certainly move it around from desk to desk very easily with one person. You don't need 2 people to move that one. And then there's a bunch of details here, which you guys will see when you get your handouts. I'm not going to go into all those details at this moment, but I will hand it over to Ian, who will show you the product itself and a little bit more detail on some of the things that I've been talking about.
Thanks, Michael. Much appreciated. If I could just ask Eileen to spotlight me, thank you. That's great. Getting spotlight, not just because I like to have my face in the camera, but more importantly, so that I can show you things like this. So I've got lots of different cameras set up, and I want to show a more practical point of view for this presentation. So I'm going to be flicking between different cameras as we go and different backgrounds. So what I want to actually start off with before I jump in is Michael's touched on a very lot of really important features that have been put down into Xencelabs' new pen display. And I'm going to run you through some of those features. And we're going to cover all of the features that we've got here in the display and why they're really important for artists and end users. So what I'm actually going to start off with is just by jumping to this, which is the overhead view. And you can see that if I'm sitting working, this is actually my setup for how I would have my pen display. My quick keys, as Michael said, was at the bottom, and then I have a keyboard, which is sitting in front of it. And Michael mentioned about sometimes artists would just sit with their arm and they would go from side to side as they're drawing. So our pen display, the Xencelabs pen display, is 24 inches. And that is the perfect optimal size for artists to cover huge sweeps right across without giving your arm an exercise by trying to move around the screen. So you can get a little bit of a sense of my displays at the minute. You can see that I've got several different displays all connected here. And you can see just down here in the corner of my screen, these little gray boxes. So I'm going to go into those in a little bit more detail. But this is our virtual tablet mode, which allows me to just jump between each of these screens very easily. And I can close this down, I can open it up, and I can customize it. And I'm going to show you just how this works in a bit more detail in just a few minutes. Where I'm going to actually start is I'm going to take off the quick keys. And I'm going to separate the quick keys. because what we have is this clip. And this is one of the most smartest, brilliant inventions that's ever came out for a pen display. So I'm left-handed, and I would sit with the pen in my left hand, and I want the quick keys in my right hand. For those of you who have seen me in action before, you know that I have so many shortcuts plugged into the quick keys that it's insane. This was a total game changer when Xencelabs brought it out with the tablets, and a few of the tablets sitting here at the side. So if you're familiar with our tablets and our products, then you will know that when it comes to the quick keys, this is the real brain and the hub of speeding up your workflow. So I'm left-handed. If I was using a tablet, I would have the quick keys here in my right hand, so I've got quick and easy access. So when the folks brought out the display and started designing the display and thinking, what do we need and how do we need to put it on? I started thinking, well, what do we do with the quick keys? Do we set it at the side? Do we try and lean it on the screen? It gets in the way. Do we set it at the bottom, falls off? Where do we put it that's not going to get in the way or be annoying? And if you're left-handed or right-handed, you're going to have the quick keys in the left-hand side and the pen's going to be in your right hand. So we want something which is going to be ergonomic for all artists. And that's when the clever chaps came up with this. This one little case, which is snapping easily onto the side, allows you to just have your quick keys at any part around the display. You can slip it onto the bottom, sides, you can even put it onto the top if you want. You can even turn it upside down and change the quick keys around so you can slide it and it goes onto the left-hand side. It means that if you're left or right-handed, as you come to use the display, you've got access to these buttons. One of our team who's actually here today, Bill, I'm just going to give him a little bit of a shout out because he's the only person that I know that has these quick keys, what I'm going to call is upside down. So the dial is at the bottom and the buttons are just above it. And as you can see on my quick keys, I have the quick keys set up so that the buttons are sitting here on the side. But what we can actually do is we can go into the actual settings panel and we can customize exactly how these settings within the quick keys show up. So we can change the orientation of the text that's on those quick keys. We can have it so that it's round to the side. We can have it so it's how I like it, 180 degrees. Or you can have it so it's up portrait mode. Now what does that mean? Well, very simply, now my quick keys, as you can see here, my quick keys are all the text is just sitting normal. It's straightforward. So it gives you that flexibility that you can decide how you want the quick keys to actually be on your screen. You can decide that you want to customize and change and have access to any and all of the quick key settings. You can have it as 90 degrees as you see here. You can have it as Bill would have it, upside down. You can put it in any way that you want. 4 complete customizable changes that you can make whenever you want to see this driver and see how you're going to set it all up and get the most out of it. So let me just move this out of the way and you can see exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in and say, let's keep it as Ian likes it at 180. And what I'm actually going to do is just change over, take it off from the side, connect it back on, and I'm going to put it here just to the side. And excuse my messy desk that I've got in front of me here. And Michael mentioned about the one hand. So we've got a clip just at the back where we can lift the display up and it goes from 16 to 72 degrees. So if I just switch to my overhead camera, I can lift this right up and you can see the stand which comes with the device. But what I also want to point out just at the top of this device, which is really important for me, is we actually provide 2 USB slots. So the power slot's in the middle. There are 2 USB slots, which is just at the side of those. So if you have additional USB cameras that you want to attach, you can pop them straight on so they can sit right at the right top of your display. It just makes it so much easier and more convenient for you whenever you're using the display itself. So let's move on. You can see there's 3 device control buttons. I'm going to get into those in just a second. I love the quick keys being able to move around the display, but as a left-handed artist, I also like to have the pen on the left-hand side. Not everybody's as good as me being left-handed. Some people are right-handed. So we can actually attach the pen here. We can attach this pen on any of the 8 slots that go the whole way around the display itself to make it as easy and as comfortable as possible. And yes, we do have 2 pens. So the 2 pens allow you to actually clip these 2 pens onto the device so that you're not going to lose your pens. We do include the pen case, and in the pen case is all the nibs, the adapters, the dongles, the 2 pens, the nib extractor, and you can keep your pens in the case. But what I've found is, since having the display and having the clips, the pen clips, I keep the pen clips in the top left-hand side of my screen so that I can actually work very easily and very comfortably. I can come in, sit down at the display, and I'm working straight away so that I'm straight onto the display itself. One of the things Michael mentioned is that if the display goes to sleep, you can literally touch it with the pen and it instantly comes back to life again. So even with my quick keys here on the left or right hand side of my screen, you can see that the text, I've got it set so that it's on its side. Now I actually like that. And again, it's for artists to decide what they want to do. And the reason for that is, once I'm into an application, I can use the dial to jog along. And the minute I'm in Premiere Pro, but I can use the dial to jog along through the application, or I've got a series of buttons that I can come in and I can click on the quick keys just to jump through. It just means the ergonomics of my workflow and my setup is just so fast and so easy. And one of the buttons which we have on our pens is mouse wheel, so that I don't even need to touch the buttons. I can literally scroll and scrub through a timeline in Premiere or in any application. If I have Safari up and running, I can jump through websites and I can scroll up or down straight through the website. So you can see here, just by holding a button on the pen, it's like a mouse wheel, and I can move up and down through web pages. I can go left and right, up and down through each of the applications. So as you can see, I've got 3 displays, 3 monitors that are set up, and a lot of artists use more than one screen when they're working. If I had something that I wanted to move from one display to another, such as this folder of a lot of images, and if I wanted to move this folder from this main Pen Display 24 over to this display, it's on the left-hand side, if I was using a mouse, I'd have to sit and move the mouse several times to get it to flow and move across. So what we've actually invented is this little guy, which I have in the corner, and this virtual tablet mode is amazing. Now within our driver, you can actually have the virtual tablet mode in any size that you want, and also in either corner. So whenever I go into my device settings, which is in the driver, and I go into my display controls, I have a button which says Edit Virtual Tablet, and that allows me to make this large on screen, make it medium, which is a default, in the middle of the screen, or shrink it down so it's very small in the middle of the screen. It also gives me the option to move it down to the bottom left or the bottom right hand corner. And the bottom left corner is where I like it, and so it just sits down here in the corner. So let me just confirm, or just cancel out of this, so you can see exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this window over to the left hand screen. Now, if I come down to these little gray boxes, each one of the gray boxes represents a different screen. So if I put the cursor over the gray box here, this is my Pen Display 24. If I move up into this display, then it's the monitor that's above me. If I move across, then it's the monitor that's on the left. I also have a 4th monitor, which is just off to the right-hand side of my setup, just out of view. That gets me to watch any problems or any issues that I have as I'm doing presentations. So very easily, how am I going to grab this and move it over? Instead of having to grab a panel or an image and then push a button on a device to make it automatically jump across, I can drag this panel around, and as it touches the gray areas, you should see it automatically moving over to each of the displays. So as it moves across the gray boxes, it will automatically snap and land on each of those appropriate displays. So that in itself just speeds things up for me as an artist as I'm working. And one of the things which I think I'm actually going to do is to actually have this virtual tablet mode. I would say 90% of the times when I need to move things around the screen, that's going to be my go-to way of getting something to go from one screen to the next. And the beauty of doing all of this is that we actually have a button at the top of the screen in these 3 device control buttons. One of these buttons is set up to instantly bring up the virtual tablet mode. I take that to one stage further because obviously I love my quick keys. So hopefully you'll be able to see this on my quick keys, whereas it actually says virtual tablet. I have put a button onto my quick keys that will allow me to just click from the virtual tablet mode straight away from my quick keys. So when I push the button, you'll see virtual tablet mode just appears straight away on the display. Very easy for me to go up and actually use the 3 device control buttons that are up here, but I want to maximize what I'm doing. I want to change the buttons around so that they fit for me. I'm left-handed. It's nice that I can just go and click those buttons as I'm working so that I can stay within the different images or graphics, and that I'm not having to run around anywhere around the display or look to see where the buttons are. I always have my quick keys either at the bottom or to the side, so my hand rests on it, and I'll always program one of the buttons for the virtual tablet mode to make it easier for me. So you can customize this, you can put it into the quick keys, or you can have it at the top where it is as natural. So I'm going to jump back into the driver panel, and I'm going to jump into our Pen Display 24, and you can see the 3 buttons that we have is Launch Settings, which opens up this driver panel, Adjust Pressure, and Switch to the display. And you can come into these and you can customize them. There's a whole range of different options which you can do for switch displays, virtual tablet mode, pressure hold, launch settings, and even just pressure. So it's the adjust pressure setup that I'm actually going to jump into now. I'm going to jump into Photoshop, and in Photoshop I'm going to create myself a nice new document. And to create that nice new document, I've got a button on my quick keys already pre-programmed, so I can create a nice new white document or a nice new black document, and allows me just to jump right through. Now in doing so, what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to look at these pressure curves. So I'll just close down this, and I'm going to select along the applications within my driver, Photoshop, and I'm going to click on my 3-button pen because this is the pen that I'm using. So I have Photoshop selected, I'm using the 3-button pen, and you can see that I can customize these buttons that's on the pen, but I want to look at the pressure curves because this is one of the things which is unique to every single artist. I can say whether I'm soft or heavy-handed and anywhere in between. But what I absolutely love about this panel is that I can customize this exactly how I'm going to lean down within Photoshop. How do I lean down? I can use this little panel to just draw, move around, clear, and see how, if I lean down heavy, do I get a thick brush? Or if I lean down light, what type of light brush strokes am I going to get? So this just allows me very easily to see how this pressure curve is going to work. And when I saw this, the very first time that I came across this, I was totally blown away by it, because how I work in Photoshop or in one application is going to be completely different to how I work in another application. So if I go into, say, Illustrator or Premiere or into ZBrush or into any application, I can customize this for each application. And not alone within the driver panel, the ability to do that just makes my life as an artist, as a designer or a videographer, or as a 3D motion designer, so much easier, because then I know that when I jump into that application, I can control how heavy or how light I lean down on the actual surface of the display. And as I'm drawing within Photoshop and painting within Photoshop, there is absolutely no lag as I go across the screen, and just switch across. And you can either change the little icons here, so you can go forwards or backwards. You can see my hand isn't falling off the side of the screen as I go to access the tools that's here at the side. I've got enough of a bezel at the side, enough of an area around the side of the screen. As a left-handed artist that come to use the screen, I'm not struggling to click into different options or choose different tools. It just feels comfortable. The whole display itself, as I go to move across the display, I've got a nice solid stroke that comes through, and I'm just going to flick through to my brushes, and I've got my quick key set up so that I can now come through and I can change the size of brush. So what I have now is pressure, and if I lean down slightly heavier, you can see that I'm getting more and more pressure just as I'm coming across the screen. I have that total control here because I set it up within the driver panel. It's silent, there's no noise. If I just jump back out to my whole desk area, so for my desk area with all the displays, what you can't actually hear is noise coming from this display. There are no fans in this display. This display is completely silent. As I draw across the screen, I'm working with headphones on, I'm listening to music. There is no fans going in the background. If I'm recording video content and recording different movies and tutorial files for Xencelabs, I don't have the annoyance of the fans kicking in the background. It's pure silent. There are no fans in our unit. Michael mentioned that earlier. Michael also mentioned about the heat and that there is no heat coming from the surface of this display. No fans and no heat. Now just take a minute just to sit back and think, how can a display have no fans and no heat? The heat is being dispersed through the back to a metal plate that's at the back of this device, which means from an artist's perspective, I can sit and I can work longer hours on these images. If I'm using Photoshop, Illustrator, if I'm using ZBrush, if I'm using any software, Corel, any software that I'm going to use, it means that I can sit here for longer periods of time. There is no heat coming from the display and there's no noise. So when I come to record my sessions, everything is silent, everything is perfect for me. So I'm just going to jump in one quick second to take Photoshop. I'm going to just take this image. I'm just going through my options that I have at the side here, and I've programmed one button which is going to do an action, and that action is just going to speed up my workflow. It's going to allow me to cut out that background with one click. You can see that my hand movement across this screen, I'm not having a huge arm movement. It's very easy to get gliding across from one side of the screen to the other. Michael mentioned about the glass screen, edge to edge glass screen, and that allows me just to move from side to side right across without having to move around and worry about where I am or what I'm doing on the screen. I'm not hitting any edges. Everything is working perfectly. So let me just show you one very simple little thing. I'm going to just switch back to me just for 1 second. And some of the team actually laugh when I do this part of the presentation, but I think it's really, really important. You have seen me working on this display, and you've seen it from all different angles. You can see the overhead shots, you can see all my multiple displays and everything else that's going on here. You can see the screen itself. So just take a second to appreciate that one of the features that we have in our Xencelabs Pen Display 24 is the fact that you can't actually see, that's now you can see in my glasses, these little ring lights. So I have two ring lights that are above me, and I have a fluorescent light which is just to the side of me here that's shining down, and over to this side I have a diffused light that's standing on a real strong structure in the background just to illuminate everything that I'm doing here. And not once did you see any of these crazy looking lights reflecting onto our display. You'll see them in my glasses, but you don't see them on the display. And just to prove this point even further, I actually went and got a spotlight. And if I just change over to this view and turn the spotlight on, so hopefully you can see the lights coming on. As I move the spotlight around, you can see the light will hit the black surface and will illuminate it, and it illuminates everything else that's in the background, including me. But what you won't notice is any light coming and bouncing off this display. I can't begin to tell you just how much I totally love the fact that this display allows me to sit with my lights on, not in a dark room, that allows us just to sit and work in any environment, in any studio, in any setup, without the need to turn lights off or to turn things around. Or most studios that we've been working in and we've been taking the display to, they've had little lamps at the side so it lights up where their keyboard is, but their displays are pitch black. Michael and Paul took the displays to see one client, and when they walk into the one client's room, all the blinds were closed, all the lights were switched off. And we asked why. They said because of the reflection on screens. So we told them to turn the lights on, and they were totally blown away at the fact there is no reflections on these displays. So folks, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I've taken you through quite a lot of the features that's in our Pen Display 24. I personally believe that this size of display and the features that have been put into it have been meticulously crafted by our product team, by Michael and the product team, to make my life so much easier as an artist. I spend way too many hours of the day sitting at computers, and this display has made it so much easier for me. Maybe that's not a good thing, but it makes it so much more enjoyable to sit at this display, so much more easier to work on than any other display that I've ever played with and ever used.
Xencelabs.